What we really need is people with a heart. People that just have a desire to serve. My name is Jeff Solheim, and I am the director of Project Helping Hands. I founded the organization back in 1994 with a trip to the Dominican Republic. I've been a registered nurse since 1989, and I spent most of my career in emergency and trauma medicine, about 10 years of that in nursing administration, running ERs and trauma units in various places around the United States. And the last 5 years I've been a speaker and an author, with speaking on topics in trauma and emergency medicine around the world.
I'm Elle Sutton. I'm a nurse. I work at a military hospital in Hinesville, Georgia. The head nurse that I worked for last August, he sent me to a Trauma Challenges nursing seminar, and that was done by Jeff Solheim. And during one of the coffee breaks, he showed the pictures of one of the trips to Bolivia. With the patients, I think Eusebio stands out. He's a 23-year-old mine worker in Bolivia. And on his day off, he had gone back to mine privately, and there was a rock slide, and he was covered underneath the rocks. He was dug out by pry bars, and they moved the rocks away from him. However, one of the pry bars went past one of the rocks and into his face, and he was cut open.
My name's Marty Schmidt. I'm a pediatrician in St. Louis, Missouri. I have a private practice of medicine in the suburban area. I've been there for about 20 years. And I've been interested in the AIDS problems in orphans in Africa for quite some time, and noticed that they had a trip to Kenya dealing particularly with that population. So I investigated, talked to Jeff, and signed up. The experience in Kenya I remember the most is a young lady who must have been about 12 years old, who obviously was having a malaria attack. Fever of 104, 105 degrees. Unfortunately, due to some of the political unrest, we were unable to get malaria medication. So all I really had to offer her was some Motrin to relieve her fever and her discomfort. And the tears of gratitude just went straight to my heart. I'd never get away with just alleviating some discomfort in the United States without doing a cure, but that was everything to them.
My name is Marcy Hodges, and I am a registered nurse. I work in the emergency department in Sterling, Colorado. I worked with a traveler who came to our department, and he was planning on going to the trip in Bolivia and had mentioned that they were still looking for nurses, and I love South America. There was a child who came in for very congested lungs, a gross, thick, mucousy cough, and just very sick little boy who had a fever, and he also had some kind of mental disability, and I'm not really sure what it was, but he wasn't able to talk much, and he didn't talk the whole time he was there. So he was with his grandma, and the grandma was raising these 3 children, and his grandma gave us all a hug and said, Dios te bendiga, God bless you. And this little boy came up to me, and he shook my hand. He was very serious, shook my hand and said, Muchas gracias, señorita, Dios te bendiga. And he hadn't said a word the whole time. And it just hugged my heart to know that.
I'm Dr. Tan Pinney. I am a retired emergency physician after having worked in emergency medicine for 28 years. And I have had 2 trips with Project Helping Hands to Bolivia. One night I was working in the emergency room with a colleague of mine who had been on a trip in 2007. And he had his pictures posted on the web, and he showed me the pictures. And it's something that I've always wanted to do, was to give back some things to people who really need it. And about halfway through the afternoon, as we were seeing patients, this gentleman walked up, with his homemade crutch. And he was a 68-year-old gentleman who had fallen out of a tree the year before and had shattered his tibia, and had gone to La Paz and gotten an open reduction internal fixation. And when I examined him, he had 2 open wounds on his leg. That was because of an osteomyelitis that had developed in the hardware that they had used.
My name is Pat Clutter. I'm from Stratford, Missouri, and I've been an emergency nurse since 1974. Also, I have a background in education. I'm an educator and a lecturer, and have kind of worked on that over the past few years, and that has helped me with my work as education director with PHH. Last year was my 7th trip to Bolivia, and I'll be going again in 2010. You know, it's so hard, because sometimes the little things that we do for people over there are just as meaningful as sometimes somebody who's very, very ill. It's been amazing to me to see and to learn how giving somebody 12 Tylenol tablets to help them with their back pain is so meaningful for them and so appreciative. And so it's, again, not always the big things, but a lot of...
You realize the whole world out there that is not as fortunate as you are, and how much impact you can actually make, even in just 2 weeks' time, to serve others. No selfish interests whatsoever. I thought that was an amazing experience for me. The adventure, the teamwork, the amazing experience of getting to know other people and going through something. What I liked is the extreme part of the trip to Bolivia. Not all of them are this extreme, but it just built such tremendous character, and it builds friendships for life.
And I feel their humanity. I'm humbled by their spirit and their happiness. It gives me a whole new perspective on what's important and what isn't important in life.
In the short time that I've been in the emergency department, it can really harden a person very quickly, because you see so much that turns you off of humankind. And so it was really good for me to have that reality check that my patients that I see every day need someone to care for them.
How wonderfully appreciative the people of Bolivia are of our treatment. It's so heartwarming to see that even just giving somebody some Tylenol or some Motrin is like handing them a handful of gold. To me, it was I was sold on the ability to go and use my experience instead of being retired and sitting at home and doing nothing. I want to use my experience, 28 years in the emergency room, to help and give back. I've been very fortunate in my life.
I think everything's a growth experience for everybody, and this has changed my life immensely. Almost, I wouldn't say my whole purpose, but wow, the 90% of my purpose in life now is Project Helping Hands, and it has changed the life of not only me, but my family.
Talk to somebody who's been there to really find out if this is what you want to do. Because if you go, there's no turning back. You're going to be there for 2 weeks.
I'd want them to talk to some people. I think it's important to hear the experience, to ask the questions that you're uneasy about. I was uneasy about a third world country, what the conditions would be like, what the food would be like. Ask the people, find out from the team leader what the situation's going to be like, and go in with open eyes and an open heart.
Oh, hands down, go. Just do it. Go on these trips. And if you're not able to go, oh my goodness, there are so many things that you can do to prepare. I think the best help that I had was from nurses in my department who were not able to go on the trip, but they collected supplies and they gave me money for medicines. And there's just...
Be prepared for the unexpected. But secondly, be expected to see things that you've never seen, and be expected to be appreciated more than you've ever been appreciated.
I would say go for it. If this is something that's in your heart that you want to do, that you've always thought about doing, now's the time. It is truly, truly a life-changing experience.
What we really need is people with a heart, people that just have a desire to serve, knowing full well that it's going to be a challenge physically and emotionally, and they're up for the challenge. They have a heart for what they're doing, and they want to serve others. I say there's two kinds of people in this world. Now that's a broad generalization, but there's those that have always wanted to do something like this. There's something inside of their heart that makes them want to go and serve others. I do recognize there are those that don't have that burning in their heart. Their burning may be for something very different, maybe reaching people within our country or reaching out in some other way. And if the burning isn't there, it's probably not something you should do, because it could be a miserable 2 weeks. But if going overseas and helping the less fortunate is something you've always wanted to do, take advantage of it. It'll make you a whole person. www. and then project-helping-hands.org. They will find contact information as well as further information on both our organization and ways that they could become involved.
So appreciative that in 2000 I was introduced to Project Helping Hands, and I just cannot imagine my life without it now.